Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Meaning of Fandom. It's a new series where we have a roundtable of guests for each episode, and we find out what a specific fandom or character from a fandom means to that individual and why. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our panelists for this episode, boy, we try to switch things up. We try to bring in as many special guests as we possibly can. So without any further ado, please welcome Dr. Spaceman. Haven't heard that one in a while. Please welcome Alan to the stage. Welcome back, brother. How you been?
I've been great. Aloha. So happy to be here. It's been a while, my man, and always good to be with the quote, "You're the man, you're the king," and I'm just excited.
Oh, thank you so much. You are too kind, sir. You're too kind. We're thankful that you're here, though, and also joining us on this round table, I should say, is the one and only Malcolm is back. Hello, Malcolm. Welcome in. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. Just glad to be here.
Simple and to the point. I like it, man. We're thankful that you're here. And also joining us is someone who has no shortage of words because he likes to say a lot. Likes to talk a big game. But don't worry, he can bring it too. Please welcome Jeff to the stage. Welcome back, Jeff. It's good to see you, my brother. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. We're happy that you're here, and we're happy that you, who may be watching or listening to this, are with us. Now, if you have any questions or thoughts about any of the fandoms that we're going to be discussing and sharing on this episode of the Meaning of Fandom, by all means, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Our producer's going to be keeping an eye on that. And also, don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. Carlin Stewart's already in the building. He says, "Hello, Ryan, here as long as I can be." Well, thank you, Carlin. We appreciate it, man. Hope everything's well with you. If there's a specific fandom you like that means something to you, please, by all means, let us know in the comments of the chat while we go through this process. With that out of the way, I'm going to turn things over to Alan. Alan, the question that's on the table is that what does a specific fandom or a character from a fandom mean to you and why? The stage is yours, my man.
Well, I love the fact that you're asking this into the whole podcast show, everything devoted to the things that we love, the things that kind of make us, which is kind of incredible. And I'm going to go my fandom, my true love for many years. And even when I was a wee boy, a wee lad, a wee spaceman, to the old man that I am now is Godzilla, kaiju in general, but specifically Godzilla. Even though I've got Hedorah here, but that's a deep cut for the Godzilla true fans, Hedorah, gotta love him. But Godzilla, I really means a lot to me because he's kind of been there as I was growing up. I'm not so old that I went to see the original Gojira in theaters when it came out, but I'm old enough to remember the late 70s films, particularly Godzilla versus Megalon. I did go see that in the theater. Yeah. So he's been with me since I've grown up. Because in the 90s, Toho did a bunch of amazing Godzilla films. I think some of the best ones. And then we went to the 2000 to the reboot, the Americanized reboot, and now the legendary MonsterVerse reboot of Godzilla films. There's been a few, and then there's another one sequel coming out soon, and then there's a Toho sequel coming out very soon. In fact, on my birthday. So when I say I grew up with Godzilla, he's still with me. So the Toho Godzilla -1 opens on my birthday. I've already got tickets here in Honolulu to go see it, so I'm very, very excited about that. So nothing bad happened between now and then, okay? Nothing bad happened. You hear that, world? Let's all rest easy. Let's all give some love. I just think Godzilla is an amazing character. Something that started out as something terrifying, and man's inhumanity to man and man's inhumanity to nature and the monsters we create, and then became kind of the hero Mother Nature with man kind of fighting for each other. And then ultimately kind of turned into that now. It's a fascinating journey and everything in between where you've got this giant monster, this thing that causes much dread, but also gives us hope. That's the thing. He doesn't have a big S on his chest to provide hope like the Man of Steel does. But you see it when he comes up, when you hear that music, when you hear that theme and Godzilla just kind of peers up, you go, oh, you know what? I'm hopeful for something. Could be, the destruction of some evil kaiju that's coming to get us, or, something that is doing us wrong, some force of nature beyond our control that he's going to help us out with. I like all the iterations of Godzilla. There's something to enjoy about each film, and there's been a lot of films. And I just think it kind of calls specifically to me, but I think a lot of people, which is why he's been around for so long and they're still making movies about him. He's just brilliant, amazing, incredible, and I love him.
Wow, man. That's really good stuff. Well, before I turn things over to the other members of this panel, I do want to comment on something that you said. And that is, it's unfortunate that this panel that I attended was not taped, but a friend of mine who's an indie artist who does artwork of certain kaiju creatures and characters, Key Lime Creations on Instagram. Her name is Keely, and she did a panel about the history of the kaiju genre with Godzilla and King Kong and some of the other monsters of Hollywood's, years. All throughout the ages, by the way, all throughout the ages, not just one specific decade. It was like all of them. And it was fascinating to me that these characters, whether it's Kong, Godzilla, all of them have been around for so long. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a lot of films I got to catch up on, man. Because that whole run of that character is, it's long. And longer than his tail in Godzilla King of the Monsters, my God. So, Gojira! And I will say this, I'm happy with, I grew up on, granted, I'm a 90s kid, so I remember I know, a lot of people throw it under the bus, and that's fine, that's completely fine. I grew up on the 98 film Godzilla, I grew up on the song Come With Me by P. Diddy, also known as Daddy, also known as he's gone through like 50,000 names in his career. And I thought the movie was cool, and then they rebooted it in 2014 with 2014's Godzilla, directed by Gareth Edwards, and then that MonsterVerse opened the doors wide open with what came after that, right? You had Kong Skull Island, you had Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then you had Godzilla versus Kong versus Godzilla. And I'm telling you, man, these films are I just like destruction. I need to unleash the fury and just take out some stuff. It's fun, right? It's fun. So thank you for sharing that with us. I do know that I need to go back and watch a lot of these films that I've missed out long ago. I missed out on, and of course, I can always go to you and say, "Hey, where should I start?" Because clearly, you're a walking encyclopedia of kaiju. So that's always a good thing to know. Hey, if you have friends in high places who know things more than you do, it's great. So, Alan, Dr. Spaceman, I thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to turn things over to our panelists here. I'm just curious, though, Malcolm, do you have any thoughts on the kaiju genre that Alan shared with us?
Not. I actually don't. I've only have seen a handful of the Godzilla movies. Like, I'm a defender of '98's Godzilla. I did enjoy that. But yeah.
All right. I got you. You got more homework than I have to do. That's okay. That's fine. You got a long list of stuff over there. But I'm just curious, Jeff, my main man. Any thoughts on Godzilla and the whole kaiju universe, Jeff?
So I gotta say I remember watching the '98 movie with Matthew Broderick, and obviously I've watched the more recent movies. I still haven't watched Godzilla versus Kong yet, unfortunately. But I do like the theme of the humanity and the nature versus humanity, and those are always great stories. And I mean, you can't go wrong with Godzilla showing up and just destroying everything. So that's always fun too, But yeah, I unfortunately that was one of those fandoms that I kind of missed the boat on growing up. I was born in 1980, so I was kind of right in smack dab in the middle of the low end of things with Godzilla, and then picking back up as it is now. But I think those movies are great, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, it sounds like I got to go back and watch some old school Godzilla myself.
We got homework to do after this broadcast. That is for sure. By the way, Carlin Stewart is in the chat. He says, "Good place to start is classic Universal monster movies. You can start there." And then he goes on to say, "And The Blob is another one to kick off with as well." I don't know if I want to see The Blob. That sounds too terrifying. And then Carlin says, "Oh no, Tokyo." Anyway, everyone's running. Anyway, that's interesting. I listen, Carlin. Just to answer your question or answer your comment real quick. I have seen the classic Universal monster movies. You know, whether it's Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Draculas, the Phantom of the Operas, the what's the other one, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. You know, all those classic ones. I've seen those. They're good stuff. I have the box set. You know, the Universal Classic 8-movie box set. Does anyone remember that? It's on Blu-ray if anyone's looking for it. It's really good. You should check it out one of these days. Real curious though. Alan, are you familiar with the series that's coming out pretty soon called Monarch: Legacy of Monsters with Kurt Russell?
I have seen the trailers. I'm a little bit hyped for it, but I'm a little cautious because it's gonna be a TV show, and I'm a little nervous how much kaiju we're actually going to see, because as much as I do like this newer, the legendary Godzilla films, Godzilla versus Kong is the best one because you get more Godzilla action. I loved King of the Monsters because of the redesign of Rodan and King Ghidorah. I think beautiful, majestic, incredible redesigns of them, and the music, perfection. But we still didn't get to see enough of the monsters, and I want to see a bunch of monsters. I want to see a bunch of kaiju. So a TV show, I'm interested, but I do want to hope there's going to be something they're going to give us at least each week, that satiate us, make us happy, make us thirst for that Godzilla, and deliver.
Give it a little bit of that flavor there. I got
That's
you.
right.
I got you. Just curious if you heard about that project or not, because the trailers have been out the last couple weeks, if not months. So.
Oh yeah.
Glad you're aware of it.
I know people who've seen the first few episodes, and they're saying like if you're a fan of Godzilla, you'll probably really like the series. Like,
ooh, Malcolm's got inside sources at the studio. That's good to know.
I mean, it's just that, but like that like a lot of a lot of the critics have seen. I think it's about the first 5 episodes or 6.
5 episodes, so a handful.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that's got some positive vibes going in the kaiju universe there for you, Alan. So you might want to fasten your seatbelt. It's gonna be one heck of a ride.
Oh, I'm in.
Dave Mattingly goes on to say the Blob has the best horror theme song ever. I wouldn't know, Dave. I've never seen the flippin' movie, so it beats me. And Carlin is asking the question, who is doing the Monarch series? I believe it's on Apple TV Plus is the studio that's releasing those episodes in the streaming service. So Apple TV Plus, Carlin, I hope that answers your question. If you're still wondering who's doing it, I believe it's still Legendary Pictures, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still the same team.
Studio. Okay, gotcha. Hope that answers your question there, Carlin. If any other questions come up in the kaiju universe, please, by all means, send Dr. Spaceman a DM. With that being said, for those of you just joining us and wondering what the kaiju is going on here, we're talking about what a specific fandom and or character from a fandom means to our roundtable of guests as well as the hosts, and why. If you have any thoughts about it, if you have any questions about it, by all means, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. Don't forget to like and share this episode of The Meaning of Fandom with all of your closest friends. There you go. I've said it. With that, let's go over to our good friend, Malcolm. Malcolm, I'm curious, what's a specific fandom or character from a fandom that means something to you and why?
Well, I mean, it's going to come as no surprise to anyone, but like the fandom I'm talking about, I'm going to attempt to talk about without talking about the actual creator, because the creator is problematic, and of course I'm talking about Wizarding World because it's just one of those fandoms that is always my go-to when I want to watch something, and it's I can't remember when I first started it. I think I was given the third book for Christmas one time, then I went back to read the first 2. And it's one of those ones that I've constantly watched. I think ever since the Goblet of Fire, I've gotten the books straight away, as soon as they come out, and all that. And it's just one of those ones that that is, I think, is one of the best in general. I think it's one of the best book to movie adaptations out there as well, because I think even though yes they did have to cut some stuff out, but I think the way they did it, I think it was done perfectly, and they definitely had a plan for what they wanted to do with the movies, well, and focus specifically on Harry's journey. Maybe this upcoming TV show can expand on some of the stuff they did in the movies. But yeah, and it's just the whole fantasy element of it, and is just something that I've just really liked watching. And yeah, it's going to be something that's like always going to be a part of me. And yeah, don't really much more I can think of like on the spot. I didn't plan anything out.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it, man. Listen, if there's anything you want to share about a specific fandom, it's okay. You can share whatever you want about it. And as far as the HP, the Wizarding World universe, as it's been called, yeah, it's got legions of fans everywhere. I've met a lot of them. I've talked to them. I've watched the movies like everyone else has. Some installments of the franchise stood out to me a little bit more so than others, and that's just me. That's okay. Not every film there's no such thing as a perfect movie, unless you're Back to the Future, but that's a story for another day entirely. But it's got legions of fans all over the world, and I respect that. I really do. So, and I see them costuming at conventions. I see them at other events, and it's, man, so many people wearing the ties or the cloaks, whether they're in Slytherin or Gryffindor or Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, it doesn't matter. So many people have a lot of fun with that, and I respect that. I do. So good stuff, my friend. I didn't know there was a TV series coming out. What's the situation with this TV series now?
It's coming out. I mean, at the moment, it was only just been announced, so they probably haven't been able to write anything before all the strikes and that going on. But it's going to be on Max anyway, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is this going to take place before or after the events of the movies?
Oh no. Basically, what I've heard is it's like each series is going to be a book, so it's basically going to be a remake sort of thing. So each series is going to be like one book.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like a lot of people are pushing back on it because they claim they didn't want it, but I swear when the movies were coming out, people were saying it should have been a TV show because they're cutting so much stuff out of the movies. But it is what it is.
Well, remakes, that's not going to tick anyone off. That's going to get people talking in the chat. But hey, we'll see what happens. It's too early to tell. It's still in the development stages and putting pieces together. So you can just wait for the first trailer to drop. We'll see what happens then. With that being said, Dr. Spaceman, any thoughts on the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
I love it. I mean, who doesn't? I think it's a really good example of something that would be nerd culture, right? That really turned into pop culture. I mean, almost everybody knows who Harry Potter is. Everybody has some aspect, of using magic, any of the spell names, having a wand. I think kids nowadays probably when they pick up a stick in the yard, use it as a wand just as much as they use it as anything else. And I really like what Malcolm said about the best translation of books to film, because those are some of the best examples of that. A lot of people, my wife included, swears books are always better than the movies, but I think these particular films were such good recreations of those books and told the heart of those stories so well. My particular favorite is Order of the Phoenix. I love that one. It's my favorite book and it's my favorite film of all of them. But I love all of them, just as much as any other series of films that are beloved. So yeah, it's classic. It's great.
Yeah, I also remember going to a little place called Barnes and Noble, and kids were dressed up as some of the characters, and they were going nuts when some of the books were coming out at that point. And I'm just thinking, what is going on in here? I've never seen so many kids going bananas over something. What is this? Like, I pulled a Tom Hanks. I don't get it. And then eventually when the movies came out, I understood a lot more about what the hype was about. So there you go. That was one of my, what do you call it? Entryways or gateways into that fandom? I don't know. He was wearing the pair of glasses over there on camera 3. Jeff, any thoughts on the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
So that's pretty cool. That this one was brought up because by the time Harry Potter came out, I was probably starting out as a teacher. So I felt like when I first went to see the first movie, I think I felt like I was a little old for it, right? And I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't read any of the books. I heard about it, I knew about it, but I thought it was kind of cool. And my younger brother was right around the cusp of the age to kind of still be like, oh, it's okay for me to go see this movie because my younger brother is still in school. So I actually I loved the way each movie allowed us to grow with Harry. Each movie was just another step in his maturity and his growth and his decision making as a hero. Um, Honestly, I like the last two movies the most because I think that's when they get really dark and it gets more mature for the more mature audiences, where it's not just like a couple of kids, kind of like let's be honest, like a little comparison. If I were to watch the Goonies now and I never saw the Goonies before, I don't know if I would be able to relate to the kids, right? Because I'm in my 40s. But to be able to see Harry transition into this adult making these serious decisions that impact everybody around him in the world and everything else, I thought that was really well done. And it's funny because Ryan, you mentioned the universal appeal of Harry Potter. I was just in a classroom maybe a week ago, and it was decked out in Harry Potter, and it was a middle school class. So, I mean, this teacher had posters for each of the four classes, and she had the sorting hat out, and this was a sixth grade reading class, and it's amazing to experience something like that when you're a teacher because as a pop culturalist and a history guy, there are a lot of times when I'm like, oh, you never heard of that before, or you never saw that before. And you go into a classroom that's just fully decked out in Harry Potter. I thought that was really cool. And I think one of the great things about the fandom is how many kids have read those books and have picked up those books years after the movies have come out and still cling to that character. I think that's just awesome. We don't really see a lot of kids pick up books and really get into them like the Harry Potter series. It's just a phenomenon.
That's certainly true. And what was it? That's cool that the teacher has like her entire room decked out. That's pretty wild. That's like I said, man, fandom goes deep. And other people are chiming in the chat. I want to take a moment to acknowledge those individuals for just a second. Carlin says Narnia and The Hobbit were my first fantasy franchises that he experienced. Okay, I got you. I respect that. Dave Manley goes on to say, Dr. Spaceman, Order of the Phoenix is my favorite of them too. Order of the Phoenix coming in hot. He goes on to say, I'd argue that The Martian is a better book to film adaptation than one that stars Matt Damon. But Harry Potter is a very close second, according to Dave Manley. So there you go. He goes on to say, how I imagine Ryan's origin. Hagrid kicks in the door and says, you're a podcaster, Ryan. Listen, Dave. Let me comment on this for just a second. I grew up watching Robbie Coltrane as Zakowski from the Bond films. So when he's interrogating James Bond in that scene, in his club, you know what I'm talking about, in Goldeneye? James Bond, charming, sophisticated secret agent. Still working for MI6, or have you decided to join the 21st century? Like, I just imagine myself being interrogated and then Robbie Coltrane just kind of like throwing barbs at me. More so than he kicking in my door and saying, you're a podcaster, Ryan. I'm sorry. But I grew up on Zakowski, Robbie Coltrane, not the Hagrid Robbie Coltrane. But not to say he didn't do a bad job in the films. No, I'm not saying that at all. He was fantastic as Hagrid. I'm not dogging that. Okay, I just want to make that perfectly clear. He was fantastic. And by the way, Robbie Coltrane, rest in peace. We miss you, good sir. That is for sure. Also, Carlin Stewart goes on to say there is clear aging in the Harry Potter movies. The first is so much brighter and lighter due to the kids' ages. Then, as Jeff says, it gets darker and more serious as they age. Good point, Carlin. There you go. Rock on. And
I
then,
mean, it's also the way the books go as well. Like the
oh yeah,
books get darker as they go on.
they do get darker as they go on. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I agree with. See, I feel like Jeff and I are copying off each other's papers today, because the last two films in the franchise are my favorites of the films. The Harry Potter films, the Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2. I like those movies, to be honest. And also, who'd have thunk that the gentleman who played Voldemort, Ray Fiennes, if I'm remembering that right, turns out to be Mallory / M in the Bond franchise. Go figure. Plays a sick, twisted, snake-sniveling punk in Harry Potter, and then he goes on to play M in the Bond franchise. That just shows you the versatility of an actor right there. Ray Fiennes, we like you, man. Keep it up. Carlin says Disney did an awesome job making the Dave Stevens Rocketeer movie with Bill Campbell. And speaking of James Bond, Timothy Dalton was the antagonist in that movie. Neville Sinclair. Anybody remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on that one, baby. By the way, you had Jennifer Connelly in that movie, and she's quite beautiful. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're going to save that conversation for another time in the green room. So with that being said, I'm going to turn stop laughing over there, Jeff. Stop laughing. So it's funny, Jeff, your name has been brought up, and that means that the question's been thrown over to you, good sir. And I noticed that Dr. Spaceman is playing with his toys. No, I don't mean it like that. But that's funny that you keep changing your display in your studio there, Spaceman. But Jeff, I'm curious, what is a specific fandom or character from a fandom that means something to you, and why? The stage is yours, Jeff.
Well, I was going to go with a classic character today. Obviously, I'm wearing a Batman shirt, and it's just a character I remember growing up with. I remember coming home and watching the 66 show after school with Mr. Adam West, and the classic entrance music and the silly boom pow and everything. I always loved that version of the character, and then obviously. And for me in middle school, coming home, I got to see the animated series voiced by Kevin Conroy. But really, I think one of the biggest movies that I remember going to see when I was younger was definitely Batman. I mean, seeing Michael Keaton bring to life this iconic character into the movies for the first time, and I'm Batman. Hearing that just really resounds. I think back and I obviously it's a character that we can all relate to. It's an everyday man who decides to put on a suit and become a bat. But besides that, reading the Frank Miller stories and seeing how that character was redefined in the 80s. Being able to ask Frank, hey, what's that like to take a character that's been around for 50 plus years and write an origin story that, gives us this complete background of how he becomes Batman. I think it's just such it's a character that we see on a regular basis, whether it's on TV, movies, music. The Danny Elfman soundtrack is just a classic as well. Artists, just so much lore to that character, and it's it's an iconic symbol. It's an iconic character. You can turn around and you'll find Batman in every toy chest of every kid growing up. Even now. So I think it's just one of those characters that it's always going to be around, and everybody's going to know who Bruce Wayne. Everybody's going to know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So much for a secret identity, right? So.
Oh man, brought up some good points there. I got to tell you, the thing that stood out for me, going back to a little indie film called Batman '89, a masterpiece of a movie, by the way. is as soon as the glass breaks and he jumps down and rescues Vicky Vale, the Vicky Vale, and pulls out his wonderful toys and just, goes through the gallery, kicks down the door, and then he says, "Get in the car." Which one? And then Danny Elfman's score just booms, and you see this incredible looking car that every single man, woman, and child wanted back in 1989. Even today, 35 plus years later, I want that car. Like, really bad. I would drive around in that every day of the week, twice on Sunday, and just open up the hatch and say, "I'm Batman." I would just pull out my best Michael Keaton impression, because I can do quite a good one too. Michael, I mean, I know you're watching this, but I can pull off a good impression of you, man. I'm not going to lie. I can bring my A game to this one. But anyway, Batman's been around for like 8 decades now, so there's plenty of history there. There's plenty of comic books you can always go back to. You mentioned the Frank Miller run. There's a lot of other runs you can go back to. I mean, my gosh, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Frank Miller. I mean, gosh, the list just goes on and on. It's ridiculously long, and Batman's not going anywhere anytime soon. My question for you is this: whenever it comes out, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in Hollywood right now that needs to be dealt with. Don't get me wrong. Are you looking forward to The Batman Part 2 by Matt Reeves? Looking forward to that one, or not so much?
I actually I did like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I thought, it's always hard when we get a new person to play the role. I think there's always apprehension. There's always going to be that, I hope this guy lives up to the character type thing. I remember watching Michael Keaton for 2 solid movies, loving Michael Keaton, and then here comes, Val Kilmer, and you say to yourself, okay, well, is this going to be any good? I think Joel Schumacher takes a different approach to Batman, and I think Val Kilmer's Batman, I think he was a good Bruce Wayne. It's really hard sometimes when it comes to Batman, because when I look at it, I say, okay, Michael Keaton was Bruce Wayne and he was Batman. He nailed it, right? Then you get a couple of guys who come after him, and I would say that, like, even up to Christian Bale, I think they really nail Bruce Wayne, the character, but I think it's really hard for them to differentiate Batman versus Bruce Wayne. And so I thought Robert Pattinson handled that pretty well. He, obviously he's got more of an emo twinge to the Bruce Wayne character, but that kind of is the era in which he's playing Bruce Wayne. He's playing the year 2 Batman now that he's gotten his first year under his belt. Now he is Batman, and he's got he's got his guidance in Alfred, and he has his resources and Lucius Fox. I think with Pattinson, I think he definitely has the chops, I guess you could say, and I think he can definitely embody the character. I think the first one, I thought Matt Reeves, the direction he took it in, did a great job with it. You definitely get that grittiness and that the Dark Knight character brought forth by Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, like the original movies of that Tim Burton gave us. So I do enjoy those, and I think it's just a completely different take. A lot of times the Batman movies, the strength is always on the villain. So I thought that Paul Dano was really good, and it's kind of exciting to see where they're going to go with that. So, a lot of time, Batman's only as good as his best villains, and if they're portrayed really well, then it's going to be a success, I think. So.
Well put, good sir. Well put. Dr. Spaceman, any thoughts on the character known as the Dark Knight?
Well, full disclosure, I always thought of myself as a Superman guy. There's the Batman guy and there's the Superman guy. But you cannot deny Batman is always been there. You can't have one without the other. And I've loved most of the Batman stuff. My personal favorite is the animated series. Batman. I mean, Kevin Conroy's always going to be Batman to me. I just think the look of him, the movements of the animation, and especially that voice was always just, that's what Batman is in my mind. My other Batman has always been how he's portrayed in the comics. No Man's Land is one of my favorite story arcs. I think it's absolutely brilliant and incredible. And then the Red Hood, when Robin came back, because I'm old enough to remember voting, calling on a phone, a rotary phone, for Robin to die. All right, that's how old I am. All right, so and yeah, I did vote for him to die. It's too bad, but hey, he came back. See, so I love Batman. Any iteration we could take him. The reason I loved that Flash movie was only because we got our 89 Batman doing Batman stuff, because he really didn't do much. I mean, he did a little bit here and there in Batman and Batman Returns, but he was really being the Batman, and that iconic theme. The only thing that I think Elfman did, as far as take away the animated series Batman out of my mind, was with that theme, that 89 theme, because that's Batman's music. That's his theme. That's it. There'll be no others. So yeah, Batman, he's cool.
Yeah. Full disclosure, when I read a Batman comic, all I hear is Kevin Conroy's voice as the character.
Yeah.
And the other thing I hear when I'm reading the comic, or I can pick, listen to in the back of my mind, the Danny Elfman score is so iconic. I mean, you can't have Batman without Danny Elfman. You just can't. I mean, the animated series put a little bit of a twist on it from the movie iteration of it, and then the movie iteration is a little bit different from that. They pull it off magnificently. And just so you know, Alan, for those of you just joining us, I want to let you in on something regarding the Batman character. We are going to be doing a 30th anniversary watch along of the animated movie Batman Mask of the Phantasm in the month of December. So, Alan, you're going to want to tune in for that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe be on the panel. I'll have to hit you up there. I'll have to, yeah. Keep showing off your artwork there, Jeff. Thank you. You may want to turn off your background, because I can't see all that artwork up close, man. Your background is being fidgety and fuzzy. But anyway, good stuff there. And also, Malcolm, do you have any thoughts on the character known as the Caped Crusader?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Batman, I think like my first sort of
Wow, that's crazy.
I think my first sort of interaction with Batman was probably when the Christian Bale movies came out. Like I'd never grew up that the animated series as a kid. Like it was I never really watched TV like much. I don't even know if that they even aired Batman the animated series in New Zealand. So it's just I mean, it's just one of those things that I've still got to catch up on. I was trolled on Netflix, but at some stage, because like in the upcoming things, they kind of had Batman the animated series is coming up to Netflix in New Zealand, but then it disappeared. So I don't know if we're ever going to get it. I know Netflix in UK got Batman the animated series, but I mean, I'm going to be able to see the Justice League series for the first time. But yeah, but that being said, I think Adam West's Batmobile is the superior Batmobile. I think it's the cooler design Batmobile. So yeah.
Yeah, we got to get us all four of one of them cars. Yo, Lucius Fox, you got any more of them Batmobiles laying around the garage somewhere? I mean, I just but give me the keys, man. I'll take care of it for you. But even so, yeah. Lots of stuff we could talk about with Batman. But yes, we are doing a 30th anniversary watch along for Batman Mask of the Phantasm, arguably one of the greatest animated feature films of all time, and also one of the top 3 Batman movies of all time, too. So definitely tune in for that. It's in the month of December. The links are up on our social media. For those of you wondering, this is the Meaning of Fandom. We're talking about what specific fandoms or characters from a fandom mean to our roundtable of panelists, as well as your host, and why. If you have any thoughts about it, any questions about it, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. I want to respect one of our panelists' time. Alan, I don't know if you're going to be able to stick around for this last one, but if you can, that's great. If not, where can the good people of the interwebs follow you on social media, Dr. Spaceman?
Oh, well, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, Jeff and Malcolm. I appreciate you guys. I'm all around all the trivia things, all the things, but my son and I do a lot of, we got some Batman animated figures that we review on Costello and Allen Review Stuff. So check that out on YouTube, and we review all kinds of random things. And we've got, Jeff was saying toys in the toy box. We got plenty Batmans in the toy box. We got a lot of them. In fact, we dedicate a whole episode on the Batmans. So, and they're fantastic. Yeah. Wish I could stick around for the end of the show, but speaking of that, I got to go take my son, and we're going to go do a field trip, which we'll review later on. So, check us out on Costello and Allen Review Stuff. Love y'all. Ryan, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you. Anytime you want me on, I'm there for you because you're the man.
Thank you, sir. It's great to have you here, and we were happy to have you on this episode. Take care. Give our best to your loved ones out there, and have a great one, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Ahuel.
Thanks, man. Man, such a great man is Dr. Spaceman, also known as Shepard, for those of us keeping track of everyone's names at home. By the way, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our good friends here in the chat. So, Dave Manley says, I grew up watching the actor known as Robbie Coltrane in Holy Drag from Nuns on the Run. I am not familiar with that one. What about you, Malcolm? You ever see Robbie Coltrane in Nuns on the Run? I never heard of that one. That's a deep cut right there for film fans. Carlin Stewart goes on to say, 1989's Batman had the same impact as the Superman film in 1978. First, we believed that a man can fly, and then Gotham believed in the bat. Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City? And if so, is he on the police payroll? And if so, what's he pulling down after taxes? Alexander Knox. Man, they should have brought that dude back for the very least Batman Returns, man. That guy got gypped. Seriously, Robert Wool, you got gypped, man. That's not fair. Anyway, Carlin Stewart goes on to say, No Man's Land and the comic book storylines of Batman was great. Let's destroy Gotham in an earthquake and then watch Batman deal with the fallout. Is that the synopsis? Oh my gosh. If that's a synopsis of No Man's Land in the Batman comics, I want to read that. I would read it. Oh my gosh. I'm going to write this one down, guys. Whoo. All right. Man, good stuff. Are you kidding me? Man, dealing with the fallout of an earthquake? That's pretty heavy stuff, don't you think? Anyway, so as the Meaning of Fandom continues, I'm going to go ahead and share with you what a specific fandom or a character from a fandom means to the host of this show, which just happens to be me. And I'm wearing a red jacket and a blue shirt, so you may think you know where I'm going with this. But before I get to that, we have this to share with you. Take a look.
Who are you?
A friend.
There's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason.
Here you go, friend.
Thanks. Cool costume.
Thanks. My mom made it for me.
I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Dreams lift us up and transform us into something better. And on my soul, I'll never stop fighting.
I believe in second chances. I believe in redemption. But mostly, I believe in my friends.
I'm proud of you, Jonathan. You put the world above yourself. That's what a hero does.
Any more at home like you?
Not really, no.
No one ever dreams about the problems, but every life has them. Even the extraordinary ones.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. And in time, they will join you in the sun.
He may have come from another world, but he will always belong to ours.
Well, I think you know where we're going with this. For those of you maybe watching or listening, I'm going to share with you a very specific portion of this fandom that means something to me and why. And what we're talking about here is the Man of Steel, known as Superman, the greatest superhero of all time, one of the most popular fictional characters of all time. And I want to draw your attention to something that happened in the year 2006. And here's the image we have for you to help guide you through this story that I'm about to share with you. I'm going to get a little personal here for just a minute. So in December of 2005, suddenly I lost something very important to me, and it was hard. It was rough. And 6 weeks after that, those events happened, in mid-January of 2006, the 100th episode of a television series known as Smallville aired on what was then known as the WB before it transitioned over to what is known now as the CW network. And it was the 100th episode called Reckoning. And in that episode called Reckoning, starring Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, Kristen Crook, John Schneider, and Ed O'Toole and company, that episode had a pivotal moment happen in Clark Kent's life. This tells the story of Clark Kent. This has nothing to do with him becoming Superman until the very end of the series. # minor spoiler. So in this episode, Reckoning, Clark loses Jonathan Kent, his earthly father. And when that moment happened, when Clark Kent lost something that meant so much to him, I felt what he was feeling at that moment. Because 6 weeks prior to that episode going on the air, I lost my dad suddenly. And that was very hard, not just on me, but my brothers, my mother, and all the other members of our family and friends. But when that episode aired, it made a huge impact on me for so many reasons. I realized that Clark Kent is not invincible. Clark Kent can't save everyone. He can't do everything. He can't be everywhere all at once. And when Clark Kent lost his dad, I cried right alongside him. And that episode not only made me a fan of Smallville, but cemented myself as a lifelong Superman fan in general. I grew up like many of you, watching the Christopher Reeve movies, watching the Brandon Routh movie known as Superman Returns. I've watched the animated series voiced by Tim Daly, and then it was voiced by George Newbern at the time. I've seen and heard different iterations of this iconic character, but no version hit me harder than Tom Welling's portrayal of Clark Kent on the hit TV series Smallville, which is the longest running superhero television series of all time, with 10 seasons, 218 episodes, and an all-star cast that brought these characters to life for a new generation. So because of Smallville, I love Superman, everything he's about. He does give us hope. He does keep going, because after Clark's dad dies in the 100th episode, the very next episode is titled Vengeance, and he meets someone who is going through somewhat similar struggles that he is, and it's called grieving. It's called grief. We've all been there. It's tough. It's hard. It doesn't get any easier in a lot of cases. But in that next episode, Clark learns to grieve, and it's okay to cry when you're upset. It's okay to cry when you lose someone. And that show is so good that I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the cast members from Smallville. I have yet to meet Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum, Kristen Crook, John Schneider, a few of the others. But of the ones that I've met, it's been a treasure. It's been an honor and a privilege. And Superman, without Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman, and some of the others, we wouldn't have the comic books that we have today. We wouldn't have a lot of the movies that have come out. We wouldn't have a lot of the TV series that we got after Smallville without that show. So my hat's off to everyone in the cast and crew on Smallville. And Tom Welling, when I meet you, I'm going to tell you just how much not only your portrayal of Clark Kent means to me, but what Smallville as a TV series means to me. And I'm sure a lot of the other fans around the world would agree. So I like a lot of iterations of this character, but Smallville is the one that hit me the most, and it helped me deal with grieving of my dad's loss and a couple other emotions I was wrestling with at the time. I had to, growing up, I had struggles. We all have. And this show helped me get through a lot of those challenges. So I want to say thank you to everyone at Smallville, everyone who's worked on it, everyone who was a part of it, whether you were a guest star working in the hair and makeup department, the catering, the trailers, the set pieces, the production design, doesn't matter. Thank you to each and every single one of you for bringing us this show, because it means not only so much to me, but it means so much to a lot of fans around the world. So I'm going with Smallville. I'm going with Superman. He's my number one favorite character. He's one of the characters that encourages me to keep going, even when the going gets really, really tough. And not to go into too much of a behind the scenes story here, but things have been a bit tough for me on certain fronts. But the good news is podcasting is an outlet for me to share my love of different fandoms and different characters and different things about pop culture with you, the person who's watching or listening to this right now. So if you've never seen the show, go check it out. All the seasons are available to stream, I believe, on Hulu. It's available on DVD. It's available on Blu-ray. They came out with the 20th anniversary back in 2021 set on Blu-ray. Check it out. Watch it. It's a great show for so many different reasons. I'm going to go with Superman slash Smallville in this case. Hence the reason I'm wearing this red jacket and blue shirt, because that's how much this character means to me. And this is one of my favorite, quite frankly, it's one of my favorite jackets. So I got no problem wearing this bad boy or a blue shirt, because some people are going to get what this costume is from. Some people may not understand the reference, and that's okay, because that's the beauty of these shows, is you get to learn something new every day. So those are my thoughts on the character of Clark Kent slash Smallville slash Superman, all that wonderful jazz. Malcolm, what are your thoughts on the character known as Clark Kent? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so Smallville was probably my introduction to Superman as well. I've it took me a while to actually watch the Christopher Reeve movies. I've still only seen Superman the movie. I've still got to see the other three. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those characters that I love, and I think it's just so I've read a lot of stuff about other Superman stuff before, and since then, and it's one of those of like, even though Superman Returns like didn't work, I think it was still a pretty decent movie. I think it gets a lot more hate than it deserves. But yeah.
I gotcha. No worries, man. It's cool that Smallville and some other things were your introduction to the character. That's fantastic. So, a little behind the scenes story. Before we went live on this broadcast, and it was the Meaning of Fandom episode 2, Jeff and I were wearing similar shirts, and he kind of copied off my paper and he cheated. And I said, "That's not cool, man. You can't do that. That's not right. That's not how we work here." So he had to go to the backstage area of the studio, respectively, and change his gear. He had to change out of the outfit that he was already wearing. So he put on the Batman shirt just to contrast with the lightness and the brightness that is the Boy Scout known as Superloop, also known as Superman for those who keep score at home. But anyway, hey, I'm just picking on him because I love him. Jeff is my brother. He and I have been friends for years, and we're always going to be friends no matter what. We are brothers to the bitter end. I mean, honestly. Full disclosure, yeah, we're kind of brothers. Can't you see the resemblance here? Anyway, Jeff, I'm curious. Do you have any thoughts on this character that's been around for, I don't know, 85 years, known as Clark Kent / Superman?
I mean, where to begin? It is the creation of Superman, as it's been said, is the first superhero that the world really took to as far as comics, and then it goes into the series and the black and white series, and then you get into George Reeves, and it's such an iconic character. I remember being little and being introduced to Superman with Christopher Reeves, and he embodied that character, the goodness, the humility, the respect, and the weight of that character, playing that character. I remember Christopher Reeve when he had his horseback riding accident, and it was devastating as a kid. You just say he can't. This man can't be hurt. He's the Man of Steel, and the way he carried himself afterwards was just was everything that you would think of if Superman were to lose his powers, right? The kind of person that Christopher Reeves was just continuously embodied that truth, justice, and American way that I remember Superman being portrayed. Then you look at I remember being old enough to watch TNT with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, who honestly she's my favorite Lois. I think she really, but then again I think Terry Hatcher is spectacular. Double in time. But I mean, then again, the Smallville show is just an incredible example of I think Tom Welling reminded us that Superman is also human, and that he has a heart, and he's kind of like us in this awkward stage of trying to figure out who we are, who we're supposed to be, and living up to this incredible weight of expectations. He has a fantastic dad, so to speak, in John Schneider playing Jonathan Kent, who we can all say we're fortunate enough to have strong male figures raising us and saying, trying to teach us right and wrong, but still making us make our own decisions. I think Jonathan Schneider really embodied that father figure that we can all relate to, and I think Tom Welling is definitely that high school character that we can all relate to, being somewhat of a social outcast, trying to figure out what his way is. Does he find the success on the football field? Does he, go the route of the academic? I think those are all things that every student that I've ever encountered as a teacher for 24 years goes through, trying to figure out, okay, which path am I going to go into? What really grabs my attention? What makes me get up in the morning and be excited to go to school? I think seeing a character like Clark Kent go through those daily trials and tribulations, and then take on the weight of the world and protecting the world from everything else that's attacking it. I think he just really embodied that whole era in which the growing up stage of Superman. And I think it's really cool that every movie iteration that we've had since doesn't touch that part of Superman, because they feel that that show laid the groundwork. They don't need to tell that part of the the origin part, right? When you get into Superman and Lois, it's years later, his return to Smallville and trying to regroup his life after the big city and trying to raise a family the way he was raised. Then you get into Man of Steel and the Superman Returns movies. Both, I think Brandon Routh, I think he gets a little flack of not being the strongest Superman, but I think his portrayal again is spot on. He embodies the heart and the humility of the character. This is a character that my dad grew up with. I grew up with. Everybody has grown up with Superman. Again, like the Batman character, everybody know it's a universal character. There's yes, he has the godlike powers and the abilities that every superhero wishes they had, basically, as far as Superman goes. And Batman obviously has all the resources in the world that other superheroes wish they had, basically. But these are two characters side by side, longest running, most famous, most iconic, comic book / pop culture characters that we have. And you can go into other countries and you see different iterations of those characters, but they're still basically Superman, Batman. I think we've been spoiled a little bit by DC when we have these two characters, but then I think it really paved the way for every other character to come and be created afterwards, and I think and we still see it get recreated to this day too. So I think it's a phenomenal fandom, and again, I think it's always going to be around. I mean, hey, I finally rode the Superman ride in Washington D.C. over the summer, so that ride alone, just giving you that feeling of being Superman and flying around, it was just incredible. So, yeah.
Man, you've heard it all, seen it all, met everybody, and done it all, my friend. Your resume is 6 miles long. No wonder you're one of the best teachers going today. The students are going to learn a lot from you, good sir, and they're going to continue to do so as we go throughout the course of our lives. Sorry, that sounds like a billboard ad. But anyway, I don't know about you, but this has been a lot of fun discussing these different fandoms with our panelists, our roundtable of special guests, and with you, the viewer or listener of this episode. We thank you all for being with us. We do greatly appreciate it. Malcolm, where can the person watching or listening to this follow you on social media, everything you got going on, Malcolm? I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, you can find me over on Take 3 Productions. I host Rankum every Sunday night. This week we're talking about the quality movies of Rob Schneider. Made that joke all the time, but you can also find me over on Full Metal hosting trivia over on you find me on Full Metal hosting trivia. And in about an hour I'll be over on the movie Hero Network for a bit. And we're doing a tournament fights on best Marvel characters. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Man, you got some great things coming up very soon. Thank you, Malcolm, for being here. Do greatly appreciate it. Jeff, my man, even though you copied off my paper and you cheated, which is wrong above all measure, you're still a great person and you're a gentleman and a scholar. So where can the person watching or listening follow you on social media, my good friend?
Sure. I'm pretty easy to find. If you type in icon722, you'll find my personal pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then my growing business that we after last weekend, we've decided we're going to become a send-in service now and not a consignment service. It's called Iconic Autographs and Inscriptions. So that's the business page.
Great stuff, man. Thank you for being here. Do greatly appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. And my name is Ryan of Neuroculture. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, if you will, at RyanRPM5. Also, check out all the wonderful things we got going on here at the network. I want to let you know we're close to hitting 1,000. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we're going to do a great big live stream. It's going to include returning guests such as Malcolm. I'm sure Malcolm will want to chime in and say hi to everybody. Jeff is more than welcome to come back, even though he cheated and copied off somebody else's paper tonight. But also, we're going to be giving away some items here that are brought to you by our good friend, the Art of John Pinto, including these prints that are 11 by 17 of characters such as Darth Vader. Look at that one. Oh, my gosh. That's a good-looking print. And if you're into this fandom that just celebrated its, 60th anniversary, I think it is? Doctor Who. Hello, sweetie. You have a chance to win that, and also another example of a great piece of artwork by the Art of John Pinto. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Oh my gosh, that is a very popular franchise as well as a popular streaming series right now, if I'm not mistaken. And speaking of superheroes, look at this guy. Parker, I need those pictures right now. Spider-Man, Green Goblin, going at it in Queens, New York. As soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, we could be mailing this straight to your home, but you got to help us reach 1,000 subscribers first, and then we're going to do the live stream celebration and get those giveaways going. So, also, I want to let you know that our movie anniversary watch-alongs are coming back in the month of November. We're going to do anniversary watch-alongs for The Three Musketeers with Kiefer Sutherland and Chris O'Donnell, the 007 movie Quantum of Solace, and the 30th anniversary of Mrs. Doubtfire, starring the late great Williams and Company, is coming up in the month of November. Also, the Nerdy Cantina, where we discuss all things Star Wars, are held on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hosted by myself, Christy of Snips & Co. _ and Jen. So make sure you check out all those wonderful things we got going on. And also, we were talking about this character earlier, whether it's Batman, Superman, all these other different superhero characters. Check this out. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the big dog, Mark Waid. That's right, the Mark Waid. Mark Waid, who gave us DC's Kingdom Come, Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, Star Wars, Princess Leia, and now he's doing a current run with World's Finest. Oh my gosh. Is there anything this man hasn't done? Probably not. But he's going to be with us on Thursday, November the 9th. Legendary comic writer Mark Waid at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow us on all forms of social media. The links to where you can follow us as well as the panelists from this episode of the Meaning of Fandom are located in the description below on Facebook, YouTube, social media channels of all kinds. So remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified of when our videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when celebrating the fandoms that you love most, whether they come from movies, comics, books, words on a page, any other form of media. That's where it's at. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
All right, I'm a little tired, I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.